Hello, it's Elaine. Thank you for joining me today on the Craftin Desert Divas YouTube channel. This week, Craftin Desert Divas design team are sharing cards which we think would bring joy and encouragement to someone who perhaps is going through a hard time, maybe is in hospital and generally just needs a little bit of cheering up. So today I am sharing the project which I have made for you to enjoy. If you'd like to see what I created, then just keep watching. So I have started off with some Strathmore Bristol smooth paper, just had some scraps in my stash, so I'm using them up. I've put my piece of paper in my misted tool and used my embossing body. I'm now taking one of the stamps from the Ladybug Garden stamp set from Craftin Desert Divas, and I am using my Versa Fine Onyx Black ink to stamp up one of the images. I stamped this a couple of times, just to get a nice good dark impression. I'm going to be using my Zig Clean Colour Real brush markers today, so I'm going to be using some clear embossing powder all over that image, and then I shall be heat setting that with my heat tool until it's nicely melted. So I'm taking my pale rose colour to start with, and I will speed up the video a little bit in a minute, but I'm just going to keep it slow for a second. So I just apply my colour into the darkest areas, and then I take a piece of tissue and my water brush pen, and then I just sort of gently blend that out. And I go along and I firstly do all of the petals. I do one petal at a time so that the ink isn't sitting for too long. Otherwise I find it is a little bit harder to move. So once I apply my colour, I just blend a little bit out, tap off my excess on my brush, and then go in and blend out a little bit more, just so I get a nice gradient effect on those petals. I am going to list all of the colours I use down in the description box below. So please take a look at that if you're interested in the colours I've used in today's video. This pale rose is a really lovely colour. I'm really enjoying using it at the moment. It is one of my new favourites. So I'm just using some pale brown, beige colours for the face and some sort of beige terracotta shades for the plant pot. Now I'm just taking my white jelly roll pen to apply some highlights to the petals, some dots to the cheeks, and highlights to some of the leaves and the plant pot. I think this just makes the image pop. I shall now fussy cut that out and move on to my base of my card. So again, I've taken another piece of Strathmore Bristol smooth paper. I'm using my embossing bag on that and taking a couple of the small stamps in the stamp set, and I'm using the mushroom and the flower and randomly stamping those all onto the paper. I try to twist and turn the stamps so that they all look different on the paper. I will be heat setting these as well, so I apply some clear embossing powder to all of those images. I then heat set them all, and again I will be using similar coloured markers to colour all of these images. So I'm taking my pale rose, I take the colour yellow for the flower centres, I believe this colour is Flesh, just gives a really nice subtle bit of colour to the mushroom bases, And then I am taking a couple of reds to fill in the mushroom tops, being really careful to try and not go into those white areas. So once I've finished colouring all of those in, I just take my black Jelly Roll Glaze pen and apply some dots in sets of 3. And then I move on to my sentiment. So I take a piece of black cardstock in my Misty tool, use my embossing buddy and some Versamark ink to ink up the saying, "Sending bugs and kisses." I take my Ranger Superfine White embossing powder and then heat set that. Then I use my paper trimmer to trim down my sentiment strip. I place my panel onto a black card base. And then go ahead and apply that to a side folding A2 size card. Now I'm taking my Fancy Frames die and I'm taking that small rectangle and cutting out a piece of vellum from my scraps. And then I thought I might layer up a piece of white cardstock behind my flower pot, but I decided that I don't need that. I'll just use the vellum on its own so that I can have those images poking through. So I just apply a little bit of adhesive to the back of that vellum, then some adhesive to my ladybug in her plant pot. I use some Tombow Mono multi glue on the back of my sentiment, adhere that down. And my card is finished. And I think anyone would find that a nice card to receive and put a smile on their face. So I hope you enjoyed that video today. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and look in the description box for any supplies you might need or want to purchase. Thank you for watching. Bye.